Hey, everybody. I really do hope you love listening to The Megan James Show. Did you know that you can actually get paid just for listening to this podcast? I know it sounds insane, but it's true. We just discovered this free new app called Podcoin, and it literally pays you to listen to podcasts. So here's how it works. You listen to podcasts and you earn Podcoin while you listen. Then you turn that Podcoin in for gift cards at places like Amazon or Starbucks. Or if you're a good, generous person, you can even donate that Podcoin to charity. The more you listen, the more you earn. So here's what you do. Download the app right now on iPhone or Android, and I have a special code for you. Simply use our code, Megan James, and you'll get 300 Podcoin just for signing up. And if you listen to enough of us on here, then you can get a cappuccino at Starbucks or an Amazon gift card on us. So go ahead and go listen to this podcast or virtually any podcast on Podcoin and sign up with the code Megan James. I swear it'll change the way you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening, guys. And here's our show. What is up, guys? This is Megan James coming at you live from the Megan James Show. Thanks for joining us today. I know I've talked about this topic in probably every podcast episode that we've ever published, but today I actually want to take time and go into depth and detail about something that is plaguing this nation and something that I don't think is discussed enough, and that's mental health. Now, just those two words together has gotten a severely negative stigma to it recently. You know, you hear mental health and you immediately think somebody's crazy, or you think of involuntary commitments or a padded sale. Like all this imagery comes into mind, but rarely ever is anybody talking about positive mental health, how to, fix your current mindset, to have a more positive mindset, or to see the obstacles in your life as things that are happening for you rather than to you. You don't see anybody talking about these mind hacks for positive mental health. You see all these other mind hacks for all kinds of shit, but nothing as important as mental health. And sadly, this is something that's been plaguing the nation for quite some time, to the point where our most common deaths now are from overdoses and suicides. So those are the sad deaths. Those are the deaths that they're trying to escape their current realities. And they're both, honestly, can be attributed to mental health. And yet we continue to ignore the topic and we don't talk about it, which, keeps that stigma going. So today I want to take a break from everything. I want you to sit down and really focus on this because it's really important. And I think it's time that we give it the time it needs. So I've got a new, I wouldn't call it a New Year's resolution because I'm not really a fan of those, but I've got a resolution that I'm sticking to this year, and it's if it does not raise my frequency, my positive energy levels, or my bank account this year, then the answer is no. N-O. And that is going to piss off some people. That's going to piss off some very close friends, but I can tell you right now, to save my mental health, I've had to say no to a lot of things. I've had to say no to going out to places or going on vacations with people in locations or in manners that I know is not financially responsible. I've had to say no to some stuff that I know is going to cause me more stress for zero reason, for absolutely no other reason. If I said yes, I would be appeasing somebody just to keep from having to deal with conflict. I'm not doing that. We're not doing that. And this has been a long time coming. I've been steadily increasing my level of nope. But this year, we're on a new level. And I think that it's important to say no to situations because it gives your yeses more power. And giving more power to the yeses means that when you do say yes to going out with that friend, they're like, damn, I'm important in their lives. This is real. They don't just say yes to anyone or anything. We're going to get to have some fun, but I've presented this in a manner that is clearly not a waste of time because some of your friends, I'm sorry, hey man, can we hang out? Because they feel obligated. They feel obligated to keep this relationship with you, then they need to be able to see you. But when they see you, they bitch about their lives, about everything. And it causes you stress because you've got enough shit that you're trying to avoid in your life, trying to avoid thinking about all the negative stuff. So when they're bringing up all the negative stuff in their life, it just tracks you back to your stuff. Now you're thinking about your stuff and their stuff, and it's tragic. If they're not bringing you up, if they're not empowering you and cheering you on for all the good shit you got going on, they don't need to have that much time in your life. I'm not saying you need to cut out your friends at all, but I'm saying that each friendship should have a time slot. They're allowed to have a certain amount of time with you. And if they're going to be negative, if they're going to bring you down, this goes with family too. Just because they're blood does not mean that they are entitled to your life. They're not. They're not entitled to a time period in your life. Because there are some family members in my family that are extremely toxic. And you know what I did? I blocked them. Not just on social media. I blocked them from my life. I don't talk to them because they are a mental drain. And we have enough of that through our jobs and through everything else in life. We don't need more mental drains. We don't. So if you can avoid it, if you can avoid the mental drain, say no to it. That being said, I came off strong. I started out strong into this. But, I think one of the most empowering things for me was seeing a therapist. And I was never a person who thought I needed a therapist. I never felt like I was mentally fucked up or anything like that. And I think it's important to note that regardless of how you feel, you don't have to be mentally fucked up to see a therapist. You don't. You can be undergoing mild stress, or maybe you're venting more than you used to, or you're just not as happy as you used to. But you wouldn't label yourself as depressed. You wouldn't label yourself as an anxious mess or a neurotic mess. That's okay. You are still free to see a therapist. You don't have to be a neurotic shit show. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to have a clinical diagnosis to go see a therapist. Seeing a therapist does not mean you are broken. Straight up. And somebody needs to say that. That going to therapy does not mean you are broken. Think of all the preventative maintenance that we do on our vehicles. From oil changes to changing filters to making sure our belts are in line to rotating our tires, having new tires, keeping the tread on. We do all this shit to maintain our vehicles, to keep them in tip-top performance, so we know that when we get in, we're safe to get to work. We're commuting to and from work, and it's going to be safe because we've taken care of our cars. We do preventative maintenance on us. Usually, you should be. You go to the eye doctor, you go to the dentist, you have your physicals, because you want to make sure that when you need your body most, you have it. You're safe. It's there for you because you've been there for it. You're feeding it the stuff it needs. You're giving it vitamins. You're giving it vegetables, fruits. But what are we doing to our mental health? We're watching TV. We're not reading. We're not stimulating our brains. We're not doing puzzles. We're inside more than we're out. And we don't talk about our struggles in a way that's, I guess, conducive to growth. And a therapist is great for that. A therapist is amazing to maintain your level of function. So, I don't know how many of you know this, but I've dealt with a lot. From PTSD to depression to all kinds of stuff. And it wasn't until I actually saw a therapist that I realized I was battling any of those things. And, some of you wouldn't see me as being a coach for you because you're like, well, damn, she's got PTSD and depression. She's got serious issues. How is she supposed to help me through my crap if she's dealing with hers? But what you don't understand is that's why I'm the perfect person to work with, right? Because I've dealt with my stuff on my own time. I've gone through the struggle. I've dealt with it. I know how to get myself out of these situations. I can recognize the signs and symptoms that have affected me, and I can recognize them in you. So I can get you out of the same shit that I've been through, and I will accept absolutely zero excuses from you about anything ever. None. I'm not gonna baby you. So I think it's important to recognize that some of the people who are smiling the hardest, who are the biggest jokesters in your life, are suffering. They won't talk about their struggles because that's just not them. But they're suffering. They're going through some shit. And you'll never know until you ask. And maybe a couple of them will get offended. What are you trying to do? Get in my business? No, I'm trying to take care of you. I'm trying to be a good fucking friend and make sure that even though we joke around, that we have some real moments where we talk to each other one-on-one and make sure each other's okay. You need people like that in your life. those are the people you should be spending time with. So, you know, when people come to me and they tell me that they can't chase after their dreams because they're too depressed, well, we're going to work on that underlying issue. But I promise you, I'm not just going to let you quit. I'm not going to let you just hand over some excuse, because I've been in your shoes. I've pushed through that shit, and I've come out better, stronger, and feistier on the other side, and so can you. I don't care if you're sitting there and you're like, I don't have that in me. I don't have that lion in me. Right now, you may not see him, but he's standing by the water. He's building strength, and he's going to come for you. That lion's going to come out one day, but you have to let him. You can't keep him in a cage. So, I'm not a therapist, right? I didn't go to school for psychology. I don't have an MD. But I can tell you that it is a crucial part if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to have a real life plan, if you're going to work towards real life goals. You need a therapist. Even if you're only going once or twice a month, just to catch up, make sure you stay on track. I go to vent, so I don't vent to my loved ones, and it is a complete weight off my shoulders to go there, and I take that time and I discuss my problems. So, you know, I may be going through some really negative shit, whether it's in health or finances or, I don't know, work, or it could be anything that's just been stressing me out. But I can push all that stress to the back burner, not focus on it, because I've assigned it a date. I've given all that stress a date in my calendar. 2 weeks from that date, I will be in therapy, I'll be talking to my therapist, and I can talk about all those things. So I write them all down, and I bring in my little journal when I come in, and I'm like, this is all the shit that's happened to me. We have an hour to kill, so I'm just going to sit here and tell you what's happened to me. And she never judges me. She has never judged me for bringing my little journal in and saying, this is everything that's happened to me, and this is how it made me feel, because I was never one to talk about my feelings. Never. I don't talk about emotions. You can even ask my wife to this day. You know, we'll be sitting there watching some movie, and it'll get emotional, and she'll start crying, and I'm just sitting there, and she's like, you're heartless. And I'm like, well, I just don't, I don't click. It's not that I don't have emotions. I just, I've got my own way of dealing with stuff, and so do you. So pain is everywhere, and everyone experiences pain, but suffering is chosen. So we can choose whether or not we suffer. We can choose whether or not we see an obstacle as something that's going to grow us or something that's going to keep us down. So I think it's important to recognize these things for what they are. I think it's important to see mental health as something that we need to stay on top of because it's present in our lives. Everyone has mental health. It's either bad or it's good. You can have a mixture of both. But the same thing that we know that health and fitness is a part of our life, whether it's bad or good. We have to stay on top of these things. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Okay. What can we do every day that will keep us from contributing to this mental health epidemic? What can we do to find just a little bit of happiness within our day? What can we be more grateful for? One thing that helped me is just having my meditation every single day. No excuses, whether it's 3 minutes or 30 minutes, just whatever time I can get in and whatever I choose to focus on that day. I have to meditate. I also have a gratitude journal. Every day I write in 5 things I'm grateful for. And sometimes it's stupid. Some days it's like, I'm grateful for sunbathing. I'm grateful for my water intake. I'm grateful for this glass of whiskey. And it can be silly stuff, but then other days it can be, I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that there is air in my lungs. I'm grateful to be married to a wonderful wife who supports me. And you have to take these seconds, because even though you acknowledge the people in your life that you're grateful for, and you tell them, maybe you tell your wife every day, hey, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so glad that I'm with you. Writing it down for some reason just adds power to that. The written word has so much power to it, but when you can see it on paper, it's fact, it's true, it's in stone, it's not going anywhere, and it gives you power in knowing that you have that. You have a supportive family, you have a supportive friend, whatever is applicable to you. There are 5 things every day you can find to be thankful for. Whether it's the blue sky, the green grass, the trees, I don't care. but you need to start writing it down. And it's a way of being present in the moment. You know, it's a way of focusing not on a lack mentality, but what you have now. So instead of saying, I don't have $1 million right now, I'll never have $1 million right now, what do you have in your bank account? You have $4 in your bank account. Okay, I'm grateful for the $4 in my bank account, and that money is always flowing into me, and I will always have the money I need to survive. I am always attracting money to me. If you want your gratitude to be about money, there you go. You may not have a mansion, but you can write out something like, I'm thankful for my 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. I'm grateful for running water. I'm grateful for a roof over my head. Guys, it's so easy. But it's a way of keeping present in the moment and acknowledging all the wonderful things that we do have. Because so much of our time is spent, you know, we have this instant gratification society, this microwave society where we put in the work and we expect immediate results. And we're always looking at screens. We're paying more attention to the internet and social media than we are our loved ones. And it takes a toll. It takes a mental toll. You know, it's driving people crazy, literally. So we need to take more time and just being ourselves. Go turn off your electronics. Take a walk with the dogs. I don't know. Whatever it is to just feel more present. To enjoy the life that you have. Stop focusing on the shit you can't control. It's out of your control for a reason. The only thing you can control is your response to that. You know, if your house floods, guess what? It flooded. It's done. You can't worry about it anymore. And you can't spend all your time being anxious about the future either. Well, what if my house floods? What if it fucking floods? What's the worst that's going to happen? Your shit's going to get ruined. That's why you have homeowners insurance, you know. What is going to happen? As long as you're safe, your loved ones are safe, what's the worst that can happen? You're going to have to get some shit replaced. Okay, then. Start worrying more about what's happening right now in the moment. Nothing, right? You don't have anything right now at this very moment to be worried about, because the truth is when we worry, we're thinking about the future. It may stem from something going on right now, but we're building an expectant future. We're expecting a certain result. So we're still thinking about the future. The only time you're worried is when you're thinking about the future. It's when you're anxious, okay? And you face regret and guilt when we think about the past. So what's past is past. We're not going to change it. So it doesn't do us any good to think and drain and piss and moan and groan about it. It's happened. It's gone. It's done. You can only move on from here. Now the future is yet to come, and no one can predict that. You know, no one knows what's going to happen. So stop wasting your effort, your energy worrying about something that hasn't even come to pass, and it may not. It's not worth it. Focus on what you can control today. You know, it could be something as simple as putting the correct amount of water in your body. I say half your body weight. That's what I generally go to. But in all honesty, mine's way more than that. I put between 90 and 100 ounces of water a day in my body. It keeps me awake. It keeps my body functioning regularly. It makes me feel healthy, makes me feel better. So, you know, focus on the things you can control. Getting enough water, getting enough food, saying hey to a stranger. Make a difference. Hold a door open. Focus on the things you can control. Putting enough positive output into the world will come back to you, but you can't walk around expecting it. It's going to happen when you least expect it. So I think the most important thing is just to be aware of your mental health, where you're at. Even if you're just taking, you know, once a day, you're taking account of where you're at. You're sitting down, you're acknowledging your current emotions. You're acknowledging what thoughts led to those emotions. And you're acknowledging what external circumstances led to those thoughts. You're becoming more self-aware. And we have to have a large level of self-awareness to function in today's society. We can't control anyone else around us. People can piss us off all day. With social media being so prevalent, There are so many opinions outside of our own that we're plagued with every day. Many of them we may think are ignorant. Many of them we may think are irresponsible, but at the end of the day, they're out of our control. All right, guys. Sorry, I had to have a little sip of a drink there. I can tell you right now, I'm throwing the pen down in exasperation because people just don't understand the level. When your friend isn't coming out, when you are begging them to come hang out with you and they don't ever come out, it's not because they don't like spending time with you, but they are introverted. They like spending time with themselves. They don't like busy bars. They don't want to hang out in a bar. You have to be understanding of your friend and where they're at in their life. And if you can't accept that, then you don't deserve their time. If you're so unaware of what they need, of what is going to fuel them, what is going to help them, and what makes them happy, if you don't care about that, if you don't care about finding out about that, you do not deserve their time. So you have no right to be offended if they're not coming out with you. They may be going through some shit that you have not even probed. You have no idea about because you haven't tried. You've been so self-absorbed in trying to get them out that you're not focused on, well, why don't they want to come out? And it's simple stuff that you guys have got to start realizing. It's the people who kill themselves in life, to be honest, their family most of the time would come up to me when I was on patrol and say, this is just so out of character for them. We never thought that they would ever kill themselves. But it's because they hid behind laughter. They hid behind, jokes and smiles. And they never told anyone how they felt because they felt guilty for feeling that way. And we've got to stop that. You can't feel guilty. Your emotions are what they are. We can control them. Same as we can control our thoughts. Because we have to control the way we respond to events. But you feel the way you feel. There's no need to feel guilty for that. Just because you feel some type of way, your friend doesn't mean shit. You're two different people. Of course you're going to feel two different ways. You're not always going to get along. You're not always going to place priority on the same thing. But you have to meet people where they are in life. Anxiety and depression can look like a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It could be somebody withdrawing, staying at home a lot, somebody who can't be in crowds, somebody who has to sit at the back of the restaurant farthest away from the music, somebody who can't even have an alcoholic beverage because they're scared to lose control for even a second. They're afraid to relinquish control. It could look like any number of things that you don't currently realize why someone is acting that way. You're quick to judge them, but you're not quick to check on them to see how they are. Fixing the mental health in this world starts with everyone being a little bit more human. It starts with people understanding their roles, people understanding their own limitations and their own mental health and becoming more self-aware. Because when you start seeing your problems for what they are, and you start working on them and fixing them, you start seeing signs and symptoms in other people. And you realize that you can help them. So it's important to meet people where they are. You may not agree with it. You may not like not being able to go out with your friend and always having to go over to their house. But they're going through some shit that you don't understand right now. And maybe they're not ready to talk about it. But you need to be cognizant of that. You need to be very aware of the situation. And you need to show them support. So instead of condemning your friends when they don't want to go out, making them feel like shit for not wanting to wear makeup or dress nice, that's shitty. That comes from a place of low self-esteem, insecurity on your part. You feel like to be accepted in society, you have to always dress nice. You have to always wear makeup. And you always have to be willing to rally and get out there and meet new people and put yourself in social situations. And you may be a social butterfly, or you may just think that that's the only way to function in society. But because your friend doesn't want to do that, you do not have the right to make them feel like shit. You are not entitled to judgment. This is coming from a place of love. I love all of you, but some of you need to open your eyes. Some of you are so busy talking about yourself. Some of you are so busy talking about how you have sacrificed so much for someone. You've babysat their kids. You've been in their lives for decades, and you just don't understand how they could treat you this way. They've wronged you in some way, and it's all their fault, and you accept zero responsibility. You need to quit bitching, shut your mouth, and open your eyes to this situation that's before you. You have only been accepting the words and the images to the things that make you feel comfortable, that make you feel confident. You have not been accepting any criticism. You have not been building yourself. You've not been growing yourself. You've been so focused on all the things that you're doing for all these other people that you don't see what they're doing for you. There are people that are tolerating you right now because you refuse to change. You know, you're in your mid-20s. It's time to grow up. It's time to focus on somebody other than yourself. You can still have self-love. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't focus on growing yourself. You should every day try to be a better version of yourself. Not because you suck, not because you're a bad person, but because everyone is a work in progress. We all see that. We should all know that. And we should all strive every day to be the best version we can be of ourselves, because we owe it to everyone around us. But stop focusing so much on you. You're not the only one going through problems. You're not the only one who has issues. The people that you're venting to half the time, they're going through shit on their own, but you haven't stopped to ask. You may do a polite, "How you been?" before you launch into your spiel about yourself. But focus. Take time. Pay attention to the ones that matter. And you might find that you had more fault in that relationship than you originally gave yourself credit for. And I say this with all the love in my heart, but so many of you need to recognize this. It's vital to you functioning. It's vital to you keeping your happiness and finding true friendship and relationships. You have got to be transparent with yourself. Stop living out of a place of fear. You treasure those relationships and you go out of your way to keep people, as you say, because you're afraid to let them walk. You can't control people's actions. They're going to come in your life and they can leave your life. Everything has a season. You have to be able to ebb and flow. You can't just stand rigid and hold on to people. Just because they're moving on and growing without you, because you learn at a different pace, does not mean that you get to slow their growth by chaining them to the wall. And I hope something I've said has kind of hit home. Mental health looks like so many different things, but it's not something that needs to ever be judged. That's not our place. If you're not a doctor, if you're not a therapist, then what are you doing to help? Pointing out the problem isn't doing anything. If your friend hasn't washed their hair in days and gotten dressed, why? What's going on? Instead of saying, "Bitch, get dressed, put on some clothes, act right." Instead of shaming them for their current situation, maybe you should try to understand them. I'm not saying that we should give them an excuse or give them a bye or let them remain in that victim mentality. Absolutely not. But we don't get to come at them like that and judge them and shame them. We need to first understand them, understand what has happened that led to this before we can begin to pull them out of it. But you can only pull them out through encouragement and belief and reminding them of who they are. So, I know this has been a hard-hitting podcast episode, but I feel that this is something that needs to be discussed. And there's only a few celebrities that I've seen that have really opened up about it. from Demi Lovato to, I believe Maren Morris has said some stuff, Fletcher, great people, great musicians, but the artists are always more in tune with their souls, in tune with their emotions. So they're likely to speak up. But so many of us are dealing with stuff every day that we don't speak about, and we should. We owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to the people who are going through the same thing. No one knows what you're going through until you say something. And they may be going through the same thing. And if you found a way to get yourself out of a bad situation, you need to talk about it. Because there's no telling how many thousands of people you can help just by saying something. The biggest thing for me was finding a life coach. Because the reason I was so depressed is because I had not aligned my core values with my goals. And I felt completely unfulfilled, completely out of balance, lost, and I felt like I was having a quarter life crisis because I was. It's so important to find what makes you tick. And you don't always have to align your strengths with your life goals. A life plan is vital, and really a life coach is the person you need to talk to about aligning core values with life goals to accomplish a result that'll give you fulfillment. And, it's fine. There are life coaches like me, for instance. I allow you to coach yourself if that's something you want to do. It's one of the packages we offer. We give you some guides, some references, and we give you the opportunity to speak to us if you have questions. But if you just want to do your own self-coaching, we have a package for that. It's like a self-paced course. And there's plenty of coaches that do the same thing because people learn in different ways. Some people need somebody to hold their hand and guide them. Some people want to do it on their own. Some people want to do it in groups. We have a different package for different people. And it took me finding the right coach and the right package to really come out on my own and find what I was meant to do for the rest of my life. So if you guys are kind of at that stage where you're kind of confused, you don't know what's going on, it could help. Reach out to somebody. Don't be afraid to talk to people. And if you don't feel like you have anyone, then talk to me. You guys can always reach us. Instagram fam. We're legacy_lifestyle_coaching. DM us. Visit our website, www.legacy-lifestyle.com. We're always open to talking with you guys. I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that, but I might be able to refer you to someone in that direction if that's what you're looking for. We could at least get you sorted out and figure out what steps you need to go through. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, because you'll never know until you ask. So with that being said, guys, I hope this episode has brought you some value. I hope it's opened up your eyes if you've ever mistakenly judged somebody or if you've been judged. Now maybe you can understand both sides. Now maybe you can see that playing the victim card isn't going to land you anywhere but in a deeper depression. It takes you getting yourself out. So, with that being said, hope you guys have an excellent day. If there's any more content you guys want to see, let us know. If we've hit on a subject that you want to learn more about, let us know. Or if we haven't talked about something you want us to talk about, let us know. We love hearing from you guys. We love bonding with you guys. But most of all, we just appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for following us and for supporting us on this journey to improving people's lives. It's by far what drives me. So if there's anything that you guys want to improve on, anything you want us to talk more about, hit us up and let us know. And with that, guys, have a wonderful day. Day.